They got your credit card information. They take your license plate down, and then next thing you know, they want money every month from you. They've already looked up your neighbors and your friends and where you work and stuff, and now they want money every month. Now the Sunset. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There are two serial killer cases. The Sunset Strip killer, indeed. There were two victims, very young, I think 13 and 14 years old only. And they, before they were killed, they were going to a party at a Hollywood producer. And there were very big stars like Rod Stewart and other people. And there were attendees like 100 people, all very wealthy. And 24 hours later, those girls were dead. And all those killings were attributed to Douglas Clark and Carol Bundy. But if you see the timeline of events, it's more likely that they have did something wrong at that party, that there was going something wrong. It was an all cover-up. And also with the Hillside Strangler, Kenneth Bianchi, Angelo Buono, they also had a prostitution ring. Angelo Buono had an upholstery business. It was more like a front for prostitution business. And McGowan's work stated that many of his clients were police councilmen, law enforcement, and parole officers, and people in politics. So you have really direct connections with upper society and not only random serial killings.
That's interesting. Charles Manson had an escort service too.
Yes, indeed.
Now, the Sunset Slayer, describe what their crimes were. The Sunset Bundy and the wife.
Well, according to the official story, it was that Douglas Clark was going to the Sunset Strip, sometimes accompanied with Carol Bundy or with another young girl. And he would visit prostitutes and performed fellatio. They performed fellatio on him, and he will shot them in the head and dump their bodies and did things with the body, necrophilia and those things. But I know there are interviews with Douglas Clark, and he's really convinced that he's really innocent. I don't say he's 100% innocent. He has done unethical things. But I really think he's innocent of the murders that were attributed to him.
That's interesting. Besides Douglas Clark, how many of these famous cases do the serial killer, do they still claim innocence to the end?
Definitely Richard Ramirez, and he was also found dead, I think, like 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So we can't ever know the official story anymore because he was always appealing his 13 murders. You have Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler. DNA evidence actually proved 5 or 8 years ago that he was indeed innocent, and that the real killer is still at large. Truly unbelievable. Now you have Cary Stayner, you have Herb Mullen in Santa Cruz, California, end of the late 70s. You have John Wayne Gacy. I think he was... They said he killed 33 people, young boys, but I think he's only guilty of 5 people being killed. So,
yeah, and Gacy's one of the ones too. That there were definitely other people involved, because when they picked him up, the first thing he said to the police was, "Who else is here? Who else did you pick up?" It's just mind blowing. Now, well, you mentioned Santa Cruz. What is the deal with Santa Cruz? What's going on up there? Is that like a hub for this kind of thing?
Yeah, McGowan's work actually demonstrated that it's like the capital world of serial killings. Like it's the place to be a serial killer. So I don't know what the hell is going on over there. So, but it really looks like in the end of the 1970s there was Herb Mullen and Edmund Kemper. Edmund Kemper killed allegedly 6 women, and Herb Mullen, I think, 12 people. And if you really investigate those cases, you really come to the conclusion that most of Herb Mullen's killings were actually contract killings, because the victims were not randomly chosen. They were all filthy. They were all blackmailed, coerced. And Edmund Kemper, I think Edmund Kemper probably did kill some co-eds, because he really made strong statements and really has a recognizable story that has credibility. But I also think there were others involved. I don't think he did everything by himself. So,
yeah, and it's interesting about Santa Cruz. I've never actually been there. I might have driven through. I know I've driven through that area, going north and south. but I've never actually visited Santa Cruz. But I've looked at it. It looks like a fun place to go, for the weekend with my kid. There's a nice beach up there. They got a pier with games and stuff like that and rides. And the motels are very cheap. It's very cheap to go visit there, like for a little vacation weekend, which is very difficult to find in the California coast. But I'm always afraid to go because I'm thinking, my God, this it has this reputation. Maybe that's why it's so cheap. They want to lure you over there, and then you never come back.
No, there's one weird thing about the camper case. After he killed his mother with a hammer, and I don't want to say any other thing what he did with that body, but he took a trip to, I think, University of Nevada for unexplained reasons, and then he did go to Colorado with a whole arsenal of weapons, and he really thought he was being in a shootout with police, but after that he just turned himself in. But do you know anything about the University of Nevada, why he possibly did go there? Do you know something about that?
No. The University of Nevada has a bunch of different campuses now. Maybe back then it was just one campus. But I've never heard anything too suspicious about the colleges here. Nothing that would jump out at me. Well, one thing's kind of weird. There's this what's that guy's name? The guy who owns all the budget suites, which is these monthly long-term motels where like all the poor prostitutes and the drug addicts go live in. He owns a bunch of them. Bob Bigelow. And he runs this thing called Bigelow Aerospace. He's all involved with Art Bell and looking for UFOs. He bought the Skinwalker Ranch and stuff. And it's kind of bizarre because he has this Bigelow Aerospace Museum. And they do this thing where every single school here in Clark County, Nevada, they take the kids over there for a day trip because it's free. You can go there and they show them a movie. But they always say they don't need parents to go with the kids. On this one field trip, they say, we don't need any help because it's all organized over there and we could take all the kids over there ourselves. And it's just always struck me as odds. I never let my kid go to it. But if you go there, it's just for students too. Like if I wanted to go and see this movie, I couldn't do it. It has to be for a school. That's weird. And the budget suites are very... It's an open bazaar for prostitution and drugs, and he's got like 10 of them. There's like there must be a 300, 400 apartments in the budget suites across southern Nevada here. A very rich man gets away with it. Now, you mentioned... Go ahead.
Can we step back a little bit about snuff movies? Because there are a lot of information that is really interesting.
Sure.
About the Fred and Rose West case. There were actually rumors that he was duplicating tapes and was selling them in video stores under the counter.
But have any of those tapes ever turned up, though?
Not that I know of. I did read somewhere that they found child pornography pictures, but not videotapes. No, but they, when I'm going out in bars and you meet people from the UK and I talk to them, if I have a really fun topic discussion, they really acknowledge to me like, yeah, we heard those rumors, and I can't say I met someone who saw those tapes, but I really can. Acknowledge to you that it's not a story. It's really a fact.
Common knowledge. It's common knowledge is the phrase we use here. Now that's interesting. There's a whole pattern with that. With the videotapes never seem to actually turn up ever. There were snuff films in the Son of Sam case.
Yeah, Leonard Lake case also.
Leonard Lake and Charles Ng, right?
Yeah, David Parker Ray in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Right. And the other, right, because he had a very expensive video camera. That's the Toy Box Killer down in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. And Paul...
And he had a satellite transmitter besides his toy box.
Oh, boy. Yeah, right. We'll get to that whole case in detail, because that's a very important case. But also Paul Bernardo was taping, and we don't know what's on all those tapes.
Yes, that's really a mystery. I mean, this guy was truly obsessed with videotaping. This guy videotaped everything in his life. There wasn't a day that he wasn't going away with his video camera. He was always videotaping. And I think when he was arrested, they found like 300, 400 videotapes. of course, many of them were taped with episodes of The Simpsons or movies, but we never have showed the contents of those tapes. I mean, he was also on Peeping Tom, so and were also allegations when he was the Scarborough rapist that some of the girls mentioned that that there was a girl with him videotaping the sexual assault. So you have very likely to be that Carla Molk was present during those rapes when she was videotaping this stuff. Truly mind-boggling. I don't know.
And Jeffrey Dahmer, too. Jeffrey Dahmer had a video camera in his place. We don't know where any of those... And they claimed they didn't work. They weren't hooked up. But we don't know where any of those tapes are either.
Yeah, I read all the FBI files on Jeffrey Dahmer. It was really interesting. Very much information. He could account for everything at the apartment, only he couldn't account for the video camera that he bought. He couldn't remember where he bought that video camera. Oh,
very interesting. And then again, back to Charles Manson. They talk about the night there was a rape that was a sadistic, sadomasochistic rape and revenge for a bad drug deal that went on at the Tate and LaBianca house previously that week. That was videotaped, and they were making snuff films in there, and they were making child pornography there. Again, it goes back to the video.
Yes. I think it's fact. I think author Ed Sanders did very much information in his book The Family, and it was. I think it's a fact that Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate were making pornographic videos as long as they were in a relationship, and also with other highly people in the entertainment industry, and also Charles Manson with his girls were making pornographic videotapes at the ranch.
It's interesting, too, that it seems that because you hear these rumors about gay porn and different porn videos, underground porn videos. There's one with Ronald Reagan that they talk about. And somehow they seem to wind up in the hands or pass through the hands of Larry Flint, the publisher of Hustler magazine, who seems to have a big connection to a lot of these things, too, because it was his brother-in-law, by the way, his brother-in-law, who was never arrested, who was involved, who gave the gun to Bill Menser when Menser did a couple of hits. The brother-in-law never got in trouble for this and actually got paid by the cops for giving them information and going undercover and wiretapping. But I've heard the story, and from a very credible source, that Flint wound up with the tape of Ronald Reagan doing the gay porn. You know anything about that? You know anything about Flint?
No, I saw a year ago for the first time The People vs. Larry Flint, and I thought it was a pretty good movie. So, but no, I don't did much research into the real case now. Yeah,
you got to look into that. That connects to all this too. And also, too, it's very interesting how The People versus Larry Flint, who's in there, you got Woody Harrelson with his connections to all kinds of creepy stuff. And who's the other one? Courtney Love with her connections to Epstein and everything, man. She's involved in the murder of Kurt Cobain, all kinds of weird stuff, you know? Jeez. All right, this might be a good time to take a little commercial break. And we'll be back more with our friend Patrick, who keeps his last name private because, this does attract a lot of negative attention, these kind of topics, and it's not the safest thing to be involved in. This series is called Program to Kill, Satanic Coverup, and it's very, very well done. There's about 80 episodes. Once you watch it, you're going to sit there and watch all of them, and it's going to take you a couple of days, but it's worth it. And you're going to be in a great mood after it, too. You're going to be it's really going to cheer you up when you watch this thing, And it's one of the reasons why I like it so much, too, because I complain about YouTube videos a lot, is you have to read this. There's a lot of written content in it that you can read. So I think for some reason I appreciate that better. But we'll be back with more Patrick and Program to Kill, the Satanic Coverup right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Archival Revival, the Christian Film Archive, is currently paying for vintage Christian films. They are dedicated to preserving and restoring classic Christian films and media. So if you have an original prints, negatives, or other film elements of classic Christian films, or you have audio recording masters for classic Christian record albums, they want to buy them from you. So email archival.revival@gmail.com, and they're going to make you an offer. Archival Revival wants to preserve these classic Christian films so that they continue saving people for years. These films have brought people to salvation. They want to continue that. Their staff has decades of experience in handling and preserving of film elements, and they utilize the very best climate-controlled film storage facilities around.